Even if the child has not been abused in the household, the fact that the child has seen the abuse makes her a domestic violence survivor just as much as the actual abused. Look, I'm going to apologize in advance. Lulu, my Frenchie, is sleeping right up under me. He thinks when I get settled on the couch to do these videos, that means that he's supposed to come take a nap. If you all have Frenchies, you know that they snore, they grunt, they move. I am so sorry. I am a dog mom, proud, and I just hope you can bear with me with the snores. We know that Mary Esther Wells was born in Detroit, Michigan on May 13th, 1943. Her birth certificate identified her mother as Geneva Campbell Wells, a housewife, although she worked cleaning houses. It listed Mary's father as Arthur Wells and identified both parents as Black. But Arthur Wells is a shadowy figure. The birth certificate said Arthur was an employee of the Fisher Body Company, which made car bodies for General Motors. But except for his name on Mary's birth and death certificates and Mary's claim that he was brutal to her mother, little else is known about Arthur Wells. His birth and death records can't be found. Mary always referred to him as her stepfather, never as her father. For most of her life, she told her friends that her real father was a handsome Black man named something like George or Wendell. He also cannot be found, nor can any records pertaining to his life or death. Ooh, I am so happy I know who my pappy is. Oh, and that can't deny me. Sonny, no matter how much you try, well, he ain't never denied me, but he could never. Those who believe this account point to the real name of the man known as Shorty Wells, the third of Mary's 4 children, Harry James George Womack. Harry James was the name of the deceased uncle, but the name George, according to another of Shorty's uncles, Curtis Womack, was given to the child as a nod to Mary's biological family. In 1981, however, when Mary was 38, she told several interviewers that her biological father was a white man whose family had employed her mother as a housemaid. Mary said that her grandmother had recently revealed this information to her, and she found it deeply disturbing. And I don't believe that it was a story that Mary Wells made up herself. I believe it was actually something that her mother had told her, because I don't know why the Black women that want their light-skinned baby to think that they're half white. I mean, it is the sign of the time. God rest your soul, Frankie, Keisha Cole's mother. Remember when she told the world that Keisha Cole's father was Italian, when for real he was just old light-skinned Black like the rest of them? As far as is known, Mary did not reveal her alleged white father's actual name. Randy Russi, a friend of Mary's who is of Italian heritage, said Mary was so obsessed with the supposed Italian origin of her alleged white father that she wanted to talk to Russi's grandmother to see if that lady knew anything about the man. Okay, that's strange. Well, it's not strange. It's kind of like ignorant. Not that I got a problem with the Lady Mary Wells, but it's like you thinking that all Black people know each other or all Asian people know each other, child, but better press on. Curtis Womack's recollection of what Mary said about her real father is consistent with what Wells told interviewers and slightly more detailed. Mary told him her father was this Italian man that her mother used to work for, Curtis said. He brought her mama home on a motorcycle one time, and on the way he stopped and he took her, Geneva, into a park somewhere to have sex. Curtis thought the story of a white man made sense in at least one way. You knew her daddy had to be white, Italian, or something, because Mary's tall and her mom is short, and mom looks like a real African. She was real dark, little, short woman. You would say that's Mary's mother. I don't know about look like a real African, because I know a lot of tall African women, but okay. Others say they never thought Mary's father was white. Annette Helton, one of the original Vandellas, while calling Mary a lighter complected black woman, said Mary never appeared to be mixed. Well, that's the bullshit. Y'all ain't never seen baby Jessica on the Jeffersons? Or who is that? Paula Patton's and Robin Thicke's children? Them kids don't look nothing like they black. Nathan Helton spent time on the road with Mary, along with numerous other black female performers who routinely borrowed makeup and cosmetic tools from each other. She said that if Mary had appeared to be racially mixed, the matter would have come up in conversation. Sally Womack, whom Mary lived with for a year, also said that Mary's skin did not indicate any white parenthood, and photos of Mary don't help settle the matter. Curtis said that the closest he and Wells came to meeting her alleged white father was in the 1970s, when they met in Las Vegas with people who allegedly knew him. The father was said to be working for a casino there. These people gave Mary presents, and she and a man who said he was Mary's father talked on the telephone, but Mary and that man never actually met. Child, that sound like a group to me. I hope she ain't never give that no money. Even though her family was unscathed by the 1943 riot, Mary wasn't particularly lucky in her upbringing. The first area she lived in was an African American neighborhood on Detroit's east side called Black Bottom. The name referred to the area's dark soil. The neighborhood had been home to various ethnic groups before becoming black in the 20th century. Wells told one interviewer that she was too young to remember this community in any detail, but called it the bottom of poverty. When Mary lived there, it was a poor black residential neighborhood consisting mostly of wood frame houses. Immediately to its north was the lively black entertainment district known as Paradise Valley, but Mary was too young to patronize it. Both Black Bottom and Paradise Valley were demolished in the 1960s, and the area now hosts successful mixed income housing developments. Baby, that's called gentrification. Mary's family soon moved to an area on Detroit's west side, now called the Cass Corridor. Mary lived with her stepfather and mother and two other brothers, Thomas and Fletcher, in one half of a two-family brick veneered house at 4439 4th Street. Another family lived next to them in the house's other half. They call that semi-detached. Mary attended and graduated from the neighborhood's grade school, Jefferson Junior High School, and Northwestern High School. She sang in the chorus in both junior high and high school. Although Arthur Wells was often absent from the family home, Mary said that when he was present, he often verbally and physically abused his wife. Mary told Curtis Womack that she never knew, especially on weekends when her stepfather would start abusing her mother. When she was a little girl, she'd jump on Arthur's back in futile attempts to stop his aggression. Although Arthur was the sweetest guy when he wasn't drinking, she hated him. His alleged abuse of her mother made her particularly sensitive throughout her life to the threat or actuality of such treatment. Know this, even if the child has not been abused in the household, the fact that the child has seen the abuse makes her a domestic violence survivor just as much as the actual abused. Better person. Mae James Holler, born Mae Hampton, Mary's best friend, when both were teenagers, described Mary's mom as a sweet lady, a limited sort of fun lady. But Mae also called her a woman who liked her drinks a lot. Several other friends of Wells said the same. In any case, Mrs. Wells worked as a domestic during the day and was home only in the evening. Mary started being the mother and taking care of her own mother as soon as she could, Mae said. Claudette Robinson of the Miracles described the young Mary as poor but hardworking. And in fact, by age 12, Mary was helping her mother with her work as a house cleaner. Day work, they called it. According to Wells, her mother didn't have much choice for occupation. Until Motown came to Detroit, there were three big careers for a black girl: babies, factories, or day work, period. Mary also battled two serious illnesses in her childhood, beginning at age 3. She was bedridden for 2 years with spinal meningitis, a disease that left her temporarily paralyzed, partially deaf, and temporarily blind in one eye. Then at age 10, she almost died of tuberculosis. She had another bout with TB in 1965 when she was 22. Mary's Uncle Clem, a preacher at the New Beulah Baptist Church, also supported her, both spiritually and morally. He gave her life structure, Mae James Holler said. Mary remembered happily attending Uncle Clem's church with her family and singing there from age 3 on. Mary also said church helped her mother. She always stood better when she came out of there on Sundays. As a teenager, Mary also depended a great deal on her friendship with Mae. Oprah and her friend Gayle King, that was me and Mary. Mary even had the exact same laugh as Oprah. Despite this support, Mary never remembered her youth as happy. My generation grew up pretty fast and alone, she told one interviewer. They basically kind of grew themselves up. I could tell you a million times over and over again, my mother was always there financially. She was always there to take care of the business. But goddamn it, I didn't know the bitch. Wells had discovered her goal in life. I knew I could sing and I loved to perform. So I figured I could go this way, she said. All the entertainers looked so glamorous and wonderful, so I started writing songs in imitation of the popular songs she heard on the radio. Informal bands and groups were springing up everywhere in Detroit those days, partly because the public schools offered an extensive program of music education. I did not know that until we read Flo's book. No other Motown book that we have read had mentioned that before, so I'm glad I read the Flo book. Also, as Motown vocalist, Claudette Robinson pointed out to Unsung, we didn't have computers, we didn't have phones. For entertainment, you played kick the can when you were very young and perhaps board games. And one of the ways of making entertainment was to make music. Robinson's failure to even mention television is characteristic of people born in the early 1940s. TV didn't become a regular feature in most American households until the 1950s, when the behavior patterns of people born early in the previous decade had already been established. Robert Bateman, a member of the all-male Motown group the Satin Tones, remembers that when he and the group were performing, Mary approached me out of nowhere and said, "Why don't you guys get a girl in your group?" Bateman put her off because some of the other group members were just interested in getting into her pants, and he thought her membership would disrupt group solidarity. But he told her that he was considering her request, and to keep asking. At this moment, when Mary, the 16-year-old high school student, started pushing her way into groups that didn't necessarily want her, her youth was over. After she had spent her short childhood in loyal and serious support of her mother and in battles for her own health, she turned her fierce energy to loyal and serious devotion to her career. Mary's talent and ambition soon led her to her first and only female boss, Detroit vocalist and music biz entrepreneur Johnny Mae Matthews, later known as the godmother of Detroit soul. As a vocalist, Matthews sang with a group called the Five Daps, who recorded a single, Doo Wop A Doo. She founded her own record label, Northern Records, in Detroit in 1958. One of many business people at the time who had noticed Detroit's immense reservoir of music talent and were trying to make a buck off it. Matthews had also signed up a group called Popcorn and the Mohawks, and then another called The Distance, later known as Otis Williams and The Distance, which in addition to Williams included some of the other young men who later became The Temptations.
You